Arrows and Anchors, Chapter 56, Learning to Walk on Spikes. The first week was the worst. My fear of death was completely eradicated after the first 7 days of detox, because whatever hell there may have been in the afterlife could not have come close to the pain I experienced in that hospital bed as the toxins were slowly sweated, sneezed and cried out of my body. A full day after Brooke arrived to visit me, I was still convinced I was hallucinating or dreaming. But every time I opened my eyes to look for her, fully expecting nobody to be there, there she'd be, sitting right next to me, always watching. After everything I'd put her through, she'd come back for me. The least I could do, I thought, was try my hardest to make it another day for her. That is the only way I made it, taking each day as it came, 1 hour at a time, and hoping the next would be a little better than the last. Nobody could have understood that it wasn't even a matter of willpower. To be on heroin was to be possessed. Honestly, if Brooke hadn't been there, I wasn't sure how I would have made it. The constant beeping of my heart rate monitor, the middle of the night blood pressure checks, and the twice daily barrage of questions about my symptoms had me going damn near stir crazy. I didn't know what to do with myself. It felt like the battle was never going to be over, and instead of getting easier like everyone promised it would, it only ever got harder. The ridiculous, stupid part of me had half a mind to bolt towards the door, run outside and go use. Not even to get high, just to feel normal again. I knew, though, that by doing that, I'd be letting Brooke go forever. And that wasn't a damn option. Not a damn option. I don't know who had told her, probably Mason or Tommy, but I was grateful for whoever did. It wasn't that I wanted her to hurt, or to see me in the state that I was in, but without her, I'd only have eroded and given up completely. She was my only motivation, and my only saving grace to actually want to try. Everything hurt. Absolutely everything. Every bone, every joint, every muscle, every inch of my body twinged with anguishing throes. Getting up to piss hurt. Turning over in bed hurt. Dressing in a fresh gown hurt. It felt I was participating in a marathon each time I stood up, because my bony legs couldn't bear the weight, light as I may have been. To add to the terrible humiliation of it all, almost everything I ate went straight through me, or came back up, and I smelt wretched, disgusting. My nose was constantly running, my eyes couldn't stop watering, and my body was covered in sweat all the time. However, though, Brooke wasn't repulsed by me, and would get right under the covers with me in bed, kissing my face as if there were someone actually worth caring about. The way her beautiful brown eyes glowed as she watched me had me beginning to think that maybe I was. If it wasn't for the medications, I would have never been able to sleep. But the pills, combined with being thoroughly drained, both mentally and physically, allowed me to get a few broken hours here and there. Thank God for that, because the constant shakiness was wicked. Every night, Brooke would massage my arms, legs and back, alleviating much of the tight, twitching spasms so that I could breathe easier and close my tired eyes for a bit of rest. That nurse, Nina, was alright. She seemed to like Brooke, and whoever liked Brooke was fine by me. I'd been irritable and contentious towards Nina, especially before Brooke arrived, but she didn't seem to mind or take offence really. As the days passed, I tried my best to be more amicable towards her. After all, it wasn't Nina's fault that I allowed myself to get into such a disastrous mess. Out of all the nurses, I was glad that Nina was my main provider. She didn't come in the room to bother me too often, and mostly left me alone when I needed it. By day 6, much of my nausea had subsided, and that's when I started to get the strangest food cravings. Tommy was such a good sport, running out to the grocery shop to pick up red velvet cake, bangers of mash, and every flavour of tea under the sun. It was a very nice change of pace for the chalky, unappetizing hospital meals. Brooke wanted to go to the supermarket for me, and though she hadn't had a breath of fresh air since she arrived at St. Shepherd's, I grew noticeably and irrationally anxious just thinking about her leaving for an hour. She always agreed to stay, to curb my edgy restlessness and ease my troubled mind. It still didn't feel completely real, that she was there with me, so I spiked my blood pressure to think of her leaving for any length of time. Every other day I was wheeled downstairs to spend 4 wretched hours in dialysis, getting my filthy blood cleaned and recirculated into my body. If not for that, I wonder how long the heroin would have remained in my system. While I was getting the procedure done, Brooke would stay behind in the regular hospital room, and I always wondered what the hell she did to pass the hours. Nearly every time I returned I expected her to be gone, but she was always there, waiting for me, with a smile on her beautiful, worried face. One day, while sitting in the wheelchair and being brought back to my room from dialysis, I heard Brooke's laughter chiming through the hospital hall. I asked the nurse to stop for a moment, just outside the door. Michael McIntyre was on the telly, and at opportune times, Brooke's giggles would resonate against the cold white walls, making them and me feel warmer. Her voice was indeed the tuning thermostat in the freezing bleakness, and I fed off her inherent exuded warmth. Before I had the audacity to be bitter, but she, after all of her heartache and disappointment, she somehow found enough hope and goodness in life to be able to laugh. It was then I decided, once and for all, that I needed to do everything in my power to get healthy, so I could listen to that sound for as many days of my life that I could. "Do you want a shower?" she asked me one day after dialysis. There was a private bath in the hospital room. I hadn't really been making good use of it. "Not really," I admitted. It was slowly, ever so excruciatingly slowly, getting easier to move around, but it still scared me to disrobe for a shower, because the lack of meat on my body made it difficult to even stand the few seconds of cold air without warm water cascading over me. "Well, what will it take for you to want to shower then?" She held my hand. "If you shower with me." I laughed at my own joke. "Done," she said, and stood from the chair next to my bed. "Wait, what? Really?" I was completely thrown by her response. I must have looked daft. "You're serious?" "I'm serious." She held her hand out for me. "You coming or what?" Brooke helped me out my socks and started the shower, making sure the water stream was extra hot for me, before telling me to lift my arms. She pulled my hospital gown down, and though she'd seen me naked before, this felt so different. My face flushed as she forced a smile and tried not to stare at my emaciated body. "Step in," she said, and I did. The hot water pelted my skin, and though it should have hurt, it actually felt incredible. I couldn't figure out why I had put it off for so long. With my back turned to her, Brooke undressed and stepped into the shower with me. She pulled the curtain closed behind her and squeezed some body lotion onto a loofah sponge. "I feel like a child," I admitted with a nervous chuckle. "Or an old man." "You're both," she joked and kissed my neck at the tip of my spine. Like so many times before, I felt the irrefusable spark of a current between us. I would never, ever be able to get enough of that sensation. Her lips on my skin was the greatest feeling I could have ever experienced, and I immediately wanted more. She rendered every other high, pale, and useless in comparison. Brooke worked the suds off my haunched back, my thin arms and weak bony legs. Her touch was noticeably softer as she trailed my scars from the orphanage along my lower back. Before, I never wanted anyone to touch me there, but her gentle fingers felt good on the raised skin, and suddenly I didn't mind anymore. I grew more nervous, wondering what she was thinking, especially as she delicately worked the soap over each scab and dotted injection site. Brooke must have been disappointed and disconcerted, but she said nothing. The only sound was that of the water raining over our bodies. All the time her touch remained soft, as she scrubbed me as if I were a fine piece of porcelain. priceless, fragile and prone to scratching. When she was finished with my bag, she turned me around to face her, and I tried my best to keep my eyes on her. Dark, wet hair stuck to her flushed cheeks, and I couldn't help but stare at the water droplets tickling down her collarbone. She was beautiful, so selfless, and I didn't deserve her. Her eyes didn't leave my gaze as she reached for the bottle of shampoo and poured some into her hands, then worked it through my hair. Her soft fingers massaged the soapiness into my scalp and through my longer strands, collecting all the dirt and letting it circle down the drain beneath us. Instinctively, my eyes closed at her gentle touch. She didn't know it then, but Brooke was cleaning the very soul of me. Before I was quite ready to leave my shower with her, Brooke stepped out but left the hot water running on my frail body. "Where are you going?" I called out to her, peeking through the curtain. "Stay there for a minute," she called back from further inside the hospital room. When Brooke returned, she was dressed in jeans and a pink t-shirt that I'd never seen her in before. "Those are new," I motioned up and down her body. "Nina gave them to me," she shrugged. "I didn't bring any change of clothes, so you look better in it than she ever would." I eyed her and wondered how the hell I got so lucky. "It's just jeans and a t-shirt," she laughed. "Besides, I'm half her age. That's not a fair comparison." "Still," I said, "Brooke would always be the most gorgeous woman in the world. No competition would ever dream to touch her. Makeup never even needed to mask her smooth skin. In fact, she glowed even brighter without it." "Okay, Casanova," she smiled with a snicker. But I could see her cheeks reddening at my words. After all this time, after all I'd put her through, I could still make her feel something. That in itself was amazing to me. Brooke held a huge warm towel open for me. "You ready to get out?" I turned the shower faucet with my bony knuckles, shutting the water flow off. I stepped out expecting to hit a cold floor, but instead there was a warm towel beneath my dripping toes. Brooke wrapped my skinny body in one towel, then absorbed the excess water, then covered my head in another warm towel and rubbed the moisture out of my hair. "Brooke," my lips were slightly parted. "Yes, Jules?" She pulled a fresh sea green hospital gown over my head and had me step into clean socks. "Marry me." It wasn't the way I envisioned asking her, but my wish came out of my mouth regardless. "What?" She stood back so we were face to face again and laughed. "I want to marry you." My eyes closed, awaiting her refusal. "Normally one would have a ring," she joked, not at all taking me seriously. "I'll get you any ring you want," I promised her. "As soon as we leave this place, just marry me, Brooke." "Okay, Jules, somebody needs to sleep. How much medicine are you on?" She simpered and led me back to my bed, covering my frail body in blankets before shivers and chills could find me. I would ask her again, properly, when I finally had a ring for her. If that's what was necessary for her to take me seriously, then that is what I would do. I decided. She deserved nothing less from me. When the 7th day found me, my legs were still restless and I still ached all over, but Brooke told me that some colour had returned to my face. I hadn't even looked at myself in the mirror, so I took her word for it. According to Nina, I had gained nearly half a stone and my blood pressure was normal again. The low end of normal, but normal all the same. These little victories were small sparks of hope, like the end of a match striking the sandpapery side of a matchbox, and hinting at a flame awaiting its full ignition. My beard had grown out of control by then. Brooke said it was tickling and itching her face as we cuddled in the hospital bed. I didn't really want a beard anyway, so I asked Brooke to shave me. Being her, she quickly equipped herself with a stainless steel bowl of hot water, a wet rag and a fresh razor. Carefully, gingerly, she traced my jaw with the blade, leaving a trail of hairless soft skin behind. Not a single nick on my face proved how meticulous she was in her carefulness. "Where'd you learn to shave a lad's face so expertly?" I ran a hand over my bare skin, enjoying the new textural sensation. I can't even shave myself without so much as nicking my skin. Good on you, love. Brooke sat down next to me on the bed and planted kisses all along my jawline, cheeks and chin. Much better, she said with a smile. She smiled at her work while simultaneously teasing me. Now my beard's gone, but what if I wanted to keep tickling you though? I remembered her aversion to it. Why would you want to do that? She asked hesitantly. To hear this, I ran my fingertips along her side, over the fabric of her shirt, and she squealed in intoxicating laughter. Just then, Nina knocked on the opened door, alerting us to her presence, and Brooke got off the bed to sit in the chair beside me. Damn Nina ruining the moment. Dinner is served, Nina half-joked as she placed 2 plates on the bedside table tray. One for you too, Brooke. Well, thank you. She eyed the plate gratefully, as if it was some big gesture of kindness. You didn't have to. I know, Nina smiled, exchanging a look with my girl that I didn't really understand, before rolling the cart back out into the hallway to continue delivering meals to the other patients. That was so nice of her, Brooke noted again, while uncovering her tray. Yeah, I grumbled and rolled my eyes. Why the attitude? She asked, grinning for some reason at my sourness. I'm sorry. I know I'm being surly. I rubbed my eyes. It's just the withdrawals making me irritable. But you're not short with me, she pointed out. Yes, that's because I love you, I explained and listened to her laughter. I see, she nodded with a knowing smile. So you have to love someone to be admirable. Precisely. I was being a total smartass, a sure sign that I was starting to feel a little better. The dinner that night was baked chicken, cream of celery soup, rolls, steamed vegetables and herbal tea. Since I'd arrived at the hospital, it was actually the best dinner I'd had there yet, or maybe it just tasted better because she was there. After we ate, the plates were collected. Brooke snuggled into the hospital bed with me, and we watched late-night talk shows. She caught most of the humour, and only had to ask about a handful of slang terms. Under thick blankets, she shared her warmth with my beaten yet astonishingly resilient body. It was the simplest thing, and somehow it meant the world to me. To share the mattress with her, to hear her laughing as she nuzzled the nape of my neck, and to smell her hair was just what I needed to want to live another minute, another hour, and another day. Somehow, while on drugs, I had forgotten how good life could be. I forgot that everything isn't always as bad as it seems. How to love, and the reasons for loving her, had been buried beneath the surface for so long, and I was finally uncovering everything again, uncovering her again. Teetering on the brink of death, then being brought back to life once more, had some interesting side effects. I started seeing everything and everyone clearer. Some things that used to matter no longer did, and other things that always mattered suddenly mattered exponentially more. As pitiful and revolting as I was, Brooke still looked at me as if I was the only man in the entire world. Her big brown eyes were aglow when my face showed hints at normal signs of life and vitality, and her smile existed as if I'd never inflicted any of this agony upon her. Brooke shared in every pain and every happiness along my journey to recovery, not judging me at all, just showing me, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that she was there to help, and she was there to stay. I didn't try to understand why, for once. I just accepted it without a fight. 7 days, 168 hours, every moment of every day during the first week of heroin was an uphill battle. Cravings attempted to control me and suck my soul back into the black hole of nothingness. My body screamed out in agonizing, torturous pain. My mind ran circles around every depressing thought and urge, and my heart held the painful weight of how I'd affected the only person who had ever truly loved me, for me. But somehow, some way, I coped. Giving up was no longer a possibility, and for the first time in so long, I was excited to see what the future held for me. The how was her. The why was her.